So lately we've been working on writing linear equations in slope-intercept form with various information. Today we're going to work on writing linear equations when we have 2 points, but neither of those points is the y-intercept. So let's remember that when we're writing linear equations in slope-intercept form, we need 2 key pieces of information or 2 ingredients. The first piece of information goes in front of our x, and this is our slope. The second piece of information that we need is going to be our y-intercept. Also remember that we're not done until we have found both of these pieces of information and we have filled the boxes. Complete your equation. So in Desmos, we did these 2 review examples. One where we have the slope of -2 and it passes through the point 1,5. So in this example, I have my slope, but since this point does not have an x-coordinate of 0, I don't know the y-intercept. So in order to complete this equation, what I would do is I would write my formula, y equals mx plus b. I know that my y value is 5, my m value was -2, my x value is 1, and my b value is unknown. To isolate b, I'm going to multiply -2 by 1 to get -2, and then I would add 2 to both sides to get b by itself, finding that b equals 7. Now if I go to fill my boxes, I know that my slope is -2, which I knew the whole time, and I now know that my y-intercept is 7 for an equation of y equals -2x plus 7. Next, I know that my slope is 3 and that it passes through the point 417. Again, that point is not my y-intercept, so just like I did before, I'm going to use my y-intercept equation or slope-intercept equation. I'm going to replace y with 17, m with 3, x with 4, and figure out what b equals. 3 times 4 is 12. And then when I subtract 12 from both sides, I know that b is 5. But I have to make sure I come over here and fill those boxes. And for this problem, again, my slope was 3 and my y-intercept was 5. And so that's just a quick review of what we did the last few days. Now we're going to figure out what to do if I don't have the slope, but instead I have 2 points. So I'm going to start with the points 2, 3, and 5, 9. First, we're going to do this visually on Desmos. So here are my 2 points, 2, 3, and 5, 9 graphed. And so my goal is to figure out if I were to graph this line, I'm just going to kind of sketch it here, I can see that eventually it's going to hit the y-axis. Now clearly that's not a perfect line, and so I want to be way more accurate or precise than that. So what I'm going to do is figure out the rise and run between these 2 points. And so my rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and my run is 3. And I know that a rise of 6 and a run of 3 simplifies to a slope of 2. We're going to think of that as 2 over 1. So that means that between these 2 points, even though these 2 points are 6 and 3 apart, remember a line has infinite points on it, I can find all the other points by doing a rise of 2 and a run of 1. So what that could have meant was, for example, from this point I could go up 2 over 1. I could do that again, up 2 over 1, and eventually I'd hit that same point again. But these points aren't really the ones that I'm interested in. I know that the y-intercept, based on the way the line looks, is going to occur somewhere over here. So I'm going to start from this point, and instead of going up and to the right, I'm going to go down and to the left. So down to left 1, down to left 1, and there, I found it. I've got my y-intercept, which would be -1 for my b value, which means my equation would be y equals 2x minus 1. But now we're going to find this algebraically without the use of Desmos. So here on example 1, we have the same data that we just looked at on Desmos, and now we're going to use algebra. So it says, what key piece of information is missing that we've had in the past? So right now we don't know either of our key pieces of ingredients, we don't know our slope, and we don't know our y-intercept. But since we're given 2 points, what we can do with that is we can find the slope using the subtraction fraction. So I'm going to set up my y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I know we've got an x and a y, an x and a y. 1's come first, 2's come second. So I'm going to do 9 minus 3, y2 minus y1, over 5 minus 2, x2 minus x1, which will give me 6 over 3, which will give me a slope of 2, which is also what we found in Desmos. Now I can substitute my values in to solve for b. So I'm going to, again, do y equals mx plus b. The difference here is that back up on example 2, for example, The only possible number that I could use to take the place of y was 17. That was my only y value. And the only possible number I could use to take the place of x was 4. I just happen to have a choice this time. I could use either 2 and 3 for x and y, or 5 and 9. I might choose 2 and 3 just because they're smaller numbers. Other things I might take into consideration are positive and negative numbers, if there were fractions, but it really won't matter which point you pick. So in this case, when I go to change y to a number, I'm going to choose to change y to 3. Now because I've chosen 3 for y, all that means is that now I have no choice but to choose 2 for x. And my slope, well, there's only one slope in this line, and that's 2, so that number 2 is going to take the place of my slope. And I don't know my b, so I keep it as my b value. So again, just to review what we just did, y I chose to replace with 3. I got that from this ordered pair. M, which is my slope, was 2. X now has to come from the same ordered pair as the y, which was 2, and I don't know my b value. I could have chosen 5 for x and 9 for y, and it would end up with the same equation in the end. But let's keep going with this one. So now to get b by itself, what I would do first is I would simplify 2 times 2 to get 4. And then since 4 is bothering b, I would subtract 4 from both sides. This would give me a b value of -1. Don't get too excited yet. Remember, we can't stop until we fill the boxes. Our first box gets filled with the slope, which in this case was 2, and our second box gets filled with the y-intercept, which in this case was -1. Our linear equation would be y equals 2x minus 1. Let's do one more of these together before you try some practice on your own. So on example 2, again, my goal is to write the equation in slope-intercept form, which means I need 2 key ingredients. I need to know my slope, and I need to know my y-intercept. Given my information in example 2, I don't know either of these pieces of information. But to find my slope, what I can do is I can use my subtraction fraction. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so in this case, I've got x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to do 12 minus 9 over 4 minus 2. This would give me a slope of 3 over 2. So then I would do my y equals mx plus b. My y value that I'm going to pick is 9. My m value is 3 over 2. And my x value is 2. Now remember, once I pick 9 for my y value, I have no choice but to pick 2 for my x value. Now I'm going to simplify. So off to the side, I'm going to do this fraction math. I think we all get intimidated by fractions, but remember, if we just think about it a little bit, we'll remember how to do it. 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. I could either multiply across and get 6 over 2, which is 3, so I'm going to put that here. Or remember, I could have cross-canceled. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and I still would have gotten 3 in the end. So my equation would become 9 equals 3 plus b, and then to get 3 away from the b, I would subtract 3 from both sides, getting 6 equals b. Don't forget to complete your equation when you're done. Y equals 3 over 2x plus 6. So at this point, you're going to pause the video. You're going to try examples 3 through 7 on your own. Press play when you're ready to check your answers. So on example 3, I found the slope by doing 10 minus 8, y2 minus y1 for 2, x2 minus x1, 4 minus 2 for a slope of 1. One little trick that I also have is I like to highlight the information I'm going to need later so I can go back and easily find it. And this is my slope, and I'm going to need it at the end. Then I wrote my formula, y equals mx plus b. I used 8 for y and 2 for x, and my slope was 1. That was my only choice for my slope, plus b. 2 times 1 was 2, and then subtracting 2 from both sides gets me a y-intercept of 6, for a final answer of y equals 1x plus 6. If you have just y equals x plus 6, that's fine as well. But don't forget to actually complete the equation after you found the b value. For example 4, I found my slope by doing -4 minus 0, which is -4, 2 minus 3, which is -1. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. That gave me a slope of 4. Again, I've highlighted it so I can easily come back and find it later. Then I used 0 for y, 4 for m, and 3 for x, and I added my b, which I don't know. 4 times 3 was 12, and then I subtracted 12 from both sides to find b, for a final equation of y equals 4x minus 12. In example 5, I set up my subtraction fraction. Now in this one, since I was doing -7 minus 9, I did keep change opposite, and I did the same on the bottom as well. -4 minus 4, I did keep change opposite. So I got -16 over -8, which simplified to a to a positive 2, since two negatives make a positive. For my x and y value, I went with the first ordered pair since it was all positive as opposed to the negative numbers, which means I replaced y with 9, my slope was replaced with 2, and my x was replaced with 4. 2 times 4 was 8, and then to solve for b, I subtracted 8 for both sides, getting a y-intercept of 1, but don't forget that your final equation, or your final answer, is the equation, y equals 2x plus 1. On example 6, I did -2 minus 10, which I changed to plus negative, and 4 minus -2, which I did keep change opposite, which gave me a positive 6. -12 over 6 was -2, and then I just happen to use the first ordered pair. It really doesn't matter. You might like the second one better because it's smaller, but I used 10 for y, -2 for my slope, -2 for my x, and then I added my b. -2 times -2 is positive 4, which means to move it to the other side, I had to subtract it for a b value of 6. Y equals -2x plus 6. On example 7, I did -2 minus 8, keep change opposite to get -10, 4 minus 2 to get 2 for a slope of -5. I went with my first ordered pair, so y I changed to 8, my slope was -5, my x was 2, and I don't know my b. -5 times 2 is -10, which means to get it away from b, I had to add it to the other side for a b value of 18. My linear equation here is y equals -5x plus 18.